tell you again of two lovers trying to stay the best of friends. Like next to kin, we were closer than some Mexicans. Always on the phone talking about your men. An argument of epic proportion. He takes so much from you. Your man should be locked up for extortion or robbery, from taking you away from me. Why can't you see that by my side is where you're supposed to be? No more nights alone, no more worrying about if I ever come home. I see the pain in your eyes, I wipe the tears when you cry, cause in you is where my future resides. The only one in my life, but you're still hesitating to give us a try. But through it all, I'm still your friend, baby girl, if I'm not your man. She told me,
baby, I don't understand why he treats me so bad, and inside I feel so sad, my darling baby. Whoa, 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 my heart won't let him go, even though I love you so.
what happened next? It caused confusion. Was my reality just a false illusion?
All right, everybody. Since we're doing, welcome back to the Kamikaze Show. I just got to put this little disclaimer out there because I know people gonna come back and watch this later. But spoiler alert. All right. So if you have not watched the Book of Boba Fett, or if you have not watched the entire season of Peacemaker, please turn this off right now. I'm gonna say it one more time. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. If you have not watched the Book of Boba Fett, we're gonna go through the entire season. We're gonna go through the entire season of Peacemaker. So if you have not watched either one of these shows, spoiler alert, you want to come back and watch this afterwards. But what up, y'all? I'm back again, man. It's your boy Saul G, aka Money Graham, aka the Kang of comics, back again for a show. It's probably been about a 2-month hiatus since I did another show, but it's good to be back. I got my boy here with me, Jeff Charles. I'm about to bring him in a second, but I just want to tell everybody that it is good to be back. Like I said, make sure y'all sharing this, make sure y'all retweet this, and we about to go ahead and get into it. So let me go ahead and bring my boy in real quick. Mr. Charles, man, how you doing?
Yo, it's been a while. I've missed this.
I know, man. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I've been wanting to do this for I wanted to do like the weekly updates like I did with like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision and Loki. I used to do weekly updates, but I ain't gonna lie, man. I was kind of burnt out, not from this, but just like kind of from life, you know what I mean? So I had to re-energize myself to come back so I could actually do it, with some decent energy, man. So how's everything your way?
It's good, man. Got a lot going on. Same as you, man. I think everybody just got a whole lot going on, but so far.
And then I ain't tell you, I don't know if I told you, but we got a little Kamikaze Junior on the way too, so that added into it as well. Yeah. So
nice.
got a little junior on the way, so that added into all the mix of everything going on. So I'm like, all right, let me refocus. Let me go ahead and do everything I gotta do. But yeah.
Well, congratulations, bro. That's awesome. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah,
I'm glad that things are going good for you, because I know the whole thing with the immigration thing, and now there's going to be a
yeah. Like I said, the whole clan should be here in about I don't know, man, less than 2 months. So we real excited. So yeah, man, it's gonna be crazy because when I start doing the show with them here, you're gonna see little heads trying to fly through the screen. So it's gonna be real cool, man. But let's go ahead and get into it, man. If you're watching right now and you haven't seen the Book of Boba Fett, we're gonna do Boba Fett first. All right. So we're gonna kind of go through the season. We're gonna start whatever. So if you're waiting for Peacemaker or vice versa, you can watch it. But if you haven't watched the Boba Fett, it is about 105 Eastern right now. You might want to come back in about 30-40 minutes when we get done talking this, so you can get your Peacemaker side. So the book of Boba Fett. First question I have for you, sir, is you've seen the whole season. My question is, what were your expectations before you started watching the show?
I didn't really have many expectations, and I purposely went into it like that for a reason. Because the thing about Boba Fett, Boba Fett, in the original trilogy, the guy has like 4 lines.
Yeah,
he does. He plays an important role, but not a huge role. So,
right.
but he was such a popular character anyway. And we were all waiting for him to be fleshed out. And I had been waiting because I was so excited that this was coming up. Like, finally, we're going to see what's going on with Boba Fett and all that. They had some stuff like, I think, in the Clone Wars about him as a kid. But just seeing him as an adult, and this is where a little bit of disappointment was, but I'm expecting him to come out and be a badass. And he was at some points, but I that was the only disappointing factor for me. But it was still great because what I was expecting was for this backstory about his relationship with the Tusken Raiders to be fleshed out and have that story told. But really, I wanted to know, what is this whole taking over Jabba's empire thing? Is Boba Fett trying to be a criminal? Is he trying to be an anti-hero? That type of thing? What was his motivation behind doing that? Because we saw that in The Mandalorian. So that's really what was on my mind. And I think that, we'll talk about it further, but I think that they did a really good job of establishing adult Boba Fett as a character. Now we know what his personality is like. If you didn't read like the expanded universe books and comics and all that, you don't know that much about Boba Fett. But if you know anything, like Disney, when they took over, they threw all that stuff out. So they're bringing elements of that back in, but still, you didn't know how they were going to portray this character.
Yeah, I would say like, coming off The Mandalorian, right? I thought The Mandalorian was done extremely well for a character that I never really heard of. If you watch the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, right, then you knew about the whole Mandalorian thing, but it's like he wasn't in there, right? So I really didn't know what to expect. I really liked the way The Mandalorian was done. So when I saw Boba Fett, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to get The Mandalorian meets like The Sopranos, right? I'm about to get this Star Wars gangster epic. You know what I mean? Like I'm sitting there like, all right, come on, man. Mando or the Mandalorian was kind of sort of like, like, I don't want to say family friendly type thing. He's the hero. He's always doing good. He doesn't really have any type of decisions that you can necessarily question from a moral standpoint, right? So when you're watching it, you're like, okay, yeah, he's the hero, and it's obvious. When Boba, when they killed I forget the guy's name, forgive me, whoever the previous leader of that faction was, and they killed him, and they just like push him over and sit on the throne. Right.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's go. Like I'm ready for like a crime epic in Star Wars, right? So that is where I went into Boba Fett thinking that's what I was about to get. Now,
I will say I said I didn't have any expectation, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't expect that exact same thing. Now that I think about it, I was expecting like this is going to be very different for Star Wars.
Correct. I know sometimes when comic books and sometimes like Star Wars, they kind of go to this dark level. I didn't want it to be darker, right? I didn't necessarily need like dark and I just needed like, like I said, it doesn't have to be like as violent. It can't be The Sopranos. I understand it's Disney Plus, but going down that vein, right? That's what I was thinking. So episode 1 happens and I'm watching it and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm watching because I'm gonna tell you, like, we're gonna kind of breeze through the first couple of episodes before we get to the actual thing. I do not like flashbacks as the majority of the episode. I'm gonna tell you why. I don't have a vested interest because if you're showing me a flashback of a character who's still alive, nothing that happens to him has any suspense. Now, if you're going back to fill in a backstory, that's fine.
Right.
So the first episode, I was cool with the backstory. You understand what I'm saying? Because like, okay, how did he get out of Sarlacc pit? Okay, what happened after? It's like they kept going back and trying to fill in the story of Boba Fett when I'm like, if this is what you wanted to do, you should have just started the show from the past and then flash forward to now. Now we can get into the gangster stuff because it's like I'm watching it. I'm like, I don't like how it's like you're splitting the episodes between what already happened and what's going on now. And I get it when they try to do it in the grand scheme of things, but I prefer just a little bit more clear cut. Give me a flashback, cool. Or start it in the past, cool. But don't give me half an episode in the past and half an episode in the current, because it's like, to me, you're not doing either one of them justice. What was your first impression of the show?
Yeah, I think that's a valid criticism. It didn't bother me that much, but I will say, having it go on beyond the second episode, I'm like, okay, I do want to know the backstory. I do want to know how he ended up with the Tusken Raiders, because really the Sand People are an area that's not really explored as much either. So I want to learn more about their culture. Like, what do they got going on? So I like that I was able to learn more about at least that tribe and how Boba Fett came to be with them. But I do agree that the whole flashback thing, it did get a little bit, I won't say over the top. I would say maybe it was a little bit much. Not to where it's really going to take away from the show.
It was just drawn out too much.
Yeah. I would say it's drawn out a little bit too much. Also, in the first episode, he's holding court and people are coming to give him his stuff. What was weird to me is that, Boba Fett is a legendary bounty hunter, and he's legendary for being brutal too. Like, remember when Darth Vader says, "I need you to go get Han Solo, no disintegrations"? Like, he's a badass. And I understand that his character evolved after he got out of the Sarlacc pit. So I understand he wants to be a better person. But he's still, I just don't buy that he could have just lost that just because he was with the Sand People. Also, these people didn't seem to fear him. Legendary bounty hunter killed tons of people. I mean, his father killed Jedi.
Yeah,
I mean,
crazy body count.
Like the mythology behind the character was missing for me. Like, I wanted people to be a little bit more afraid of him, like be a little bit more apprehensive. Okay, Bib Fortuna, we can deal with him, but this guy is a killer. Bib Fortuna and a killer. Boba Fett will kill you himself without having to somebody else do it for him. Right,
and that was my whole thing. So I was like, okay, I'm cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, a little flashback. Okay, how he got a Sarlacc pit, and then the I forget the little people. What are people? The people how the Jawas come by, and I'm like, okay. Then flashback forward, I'm like, okay, and then it's like the people come do the tribute, and then it's like he's walking in town, and one of my major problems, and we're gonna get into his crew in a second, but one of my major issues, and I know we kind of skipping around, was the pig people, right? Like his pig bodyguards, right? Because I'm like, this is Star Wars, right? So why do they both have axes? Like,
so that's their weapon of choice for some reason. Like those Gamorreans, like even on other planets, for some reason they like those axes. I don't know what that.
But in the grand scheme of things, it makes no sense to have like a medieval weapon
when you got
blasters or a lightsaber or missiles or something else. I'm watching them and they keep making those like pig noises too. So every time they get in a fight, they pull out those axes. I'm like, that's not really scary if I have a gun. You know what I mean? So it's like,
at least the Sand People have the gaffy sticks, but they also have guns too.
Right, but it's like it's not intimidating. Yeah, you can say intimidating because I guess they're strong, but it's like you're gonna have to hit me with that axe, or you're gonna have to catch me with that axe. I could just run away and shoot. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, okay. When he pardoned them, and then he made them a part of the crew because of some decisions that he made later on, I was like, okay, I guess he does need some muscle. Okay, I get it. But it's like even in the battle, like they couldn't really do anything. But so we start off and he kind of goes through town and then he's attacked or whatever the case may be. So I'm like, oh, okay. So it looks like he's got a pretty decent adversary, right? Like, okay, these guys are really, really doing so much. But then it's like when I'm watching the fight, I'm like, at any point in time, you can start kicking some ass here. You know what I mean? Like I'm waiting. I'm like, come on. I mean, we seen the Mandalorian like eat up people. You know what I mean? Like he light up the whole. I mean, like it don't matter how many people it is. He lit up a whole room of bounty hunters himself. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm like, Boba Fett, anytime you're ready there, bro, you can go ahead and light these little shield people up. And it's like, wait for it. Yeah. You had to actually get saved by the pig people. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this ain't doing it for me. And then like it's like then he got beat up. Then they had to go carry him away and put him in the little thing. And now what I will say is this, and this is gonna be the next talking point, right? What's her name? Fennec Shand. They made her character what Boba Fett should have been. Like Phoenix
Thank
Shan
you.
was ruthless. She
Yes.
was ruthless, man. Like she hunted them down, threw one guy off the top of the thing. You know what I mean? Like she, to me, her mindset and her mentality in the show. That's why, like when she left and he was like, "Go get him," and she hunted the two people down to try to get some information out of them. I expected that kind of ruthless behavior from Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and slide to that. What were your thoughts on Phoenix Shan?
Well, Fennec Shan is a great character. By the way, the actress that plays her is 58 years old.
Yeah, the guy that played Boba Fett is how old, like 60 something?
Something like that. Tamara Morrison.
Yeah, I was amazed that they both looked that good to be as old as they are.
Right. But I mean, I'm just going to touch on what you just talked about because that was actually a major sticking. Like I was actually like, I don't know if I'm going to like this show.
Yeah.
Boba Fett should not be getting his ass kicked like that. Now, I understand that he was wounded. He had to do those back to treatments. But I'm sorry. This is Boba Fett we're talking about. Like, I don't mind if he's like a little bit rusty or whatever. But this guy, he has way more experience than even Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. Even when he was in the Mandalorian show, he was much better than he was in his own show. He was like when he came in the Mandalorian, I was like, yeah, Boba Fett, that's bad. And he was killing people.
He was the hype coming into the Mandalorian.
Right. And then he gets his own thing, and it's like he needs Fennec Shan to protect him. I'm like, oh, dude, like why are you doing this? And so Fennec Shan is a great character. I mean, she actually, and we're probably going to get to this character, but I mean, she stood toe to toe with Cad Bane, which is not something that people walk away from in this universe. Mm-hmm. I really like the way they did her character. I like the way Ming-Na Wen, or I can't remember how to pronounce her name. I like the way she plays her. And I really hope that she has, it's almost like she, and I hate to say this, but it's almost like she's a replacement for Cara Dune. Who should still be in the universe, but that's a whole other thing. But Fennec Shan is a formidable force, and they set that up in The Mandalorian, and she did not disappoint for me at any point in this whole season. I was more disappointed in Boba Fett than I could have ever been with Fennec Shan.
Yeah, so let's close the loop on the flashbacks, right? And let's get to the current stuff. So let's close the whole loop on the Tusken Raider kind of narrative, because like I know I'm gonna mix it up, but like when he fought, like, okay, like there was one part where I was like, wait a minute, when he fought the little, I don't know if you know the name of the beast that he fought in the desert, where he
no, I don't know the name of that beast.
Well, okay, yeah, so whatever that beast was had him picked up, right? And I was like, yeah, he's dead at this point, you know what I mean? He don't got no armor on, he don't really got no weapon, but somehow he finds a way to get that chain out and kind of end up choking this huge monster out. And this is another problem that I have, and a lot of shows do it, right? When you have this overpowered character, like they'll crush like everybody else, but if it's a main character, this kind of just toss you around a little bit, you know what I mean? Like they just don't go for the instant kill, right? So I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, he's dead. I hear his bones cracking, and it's like, okay, he finds a way out of it, then he gets the respect. Everything that was going on in this Tusken Raider village, I was cool with it for about maybe 20 minutes. But when it keeps going on and on and on, and I'm like, okay, we're on the 4th episode and we're still going back to Tusken Raider stuff. Unless these Tusken Raiders are about to come and be some of his muscle for his empire, I'm like, I'm not saying I'm not interested, but okay, can we get to the crime drama here? Like, this is more like Dances with Wolves to me, you know?
Or The Last Samurai.
Yeah, The Last Samurai. This is Boba Fett amongst the native people, and I'm like, I'm not feeling this at all. So I'm just like, okay, can we get to? I want to see some new action crime. I'm tired of like I was tired of the noises that they make was annoying too. So I'm just like, all right, I'm done with Tusken Raiders, right? Yeah, I'm like, okay, can we stop this, right? So when they killed the Tusken Raiders off, I was like, okay, hopefully that means that we can get to the regular story now, right? Can we move on? What was your thought on the whole Tusken Raider dialogue or the whole Tusken Raider timeline?
Yeah, I mean, I like that narrative, but I think they could have wrapped that up within the first couple episodes. I think that by then they had already established that, okay, this is one of the reasons why he's changing his life around. He discovered a new way of living, and he discovered a new philosophy. It didn't need, like, I can't remember how many episodes it was, but it didn't need that many to establish that. They could have had that happen maybe in the first, maybe second episode, then gotten them killed, and then now I want to see him back in his armor with the gaffy stick and his rifle, and let's build more on this political intrigue that's happening in Tatooine's underworld.
Right.
They could have wrapped that up a lot quicker. and still had been effective at telling the story.
And that's my point. And we're going to go ahead and get to where the show just takes a turn. This was my major problem with the show. You focus more on the Tusken Raider narrative than you did the criminal underworld narrative. It almost seems like when you were writing, you said Tusken Raiders, Tusken Raiders, Tusken Raiders, Tusken Raiders. Oh, wait, he's supposed to be a crime boss, everybody. We need to kind of sort of, maybe we should do something like that. Whoops. Here comes the Mandalorian. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like by the time this is almost how they did it. As soon as the Tusken Raider was narrative and we're ready to get in Boba Fett, it was like, the episode where they were like, well, we might need to get, they hit the underworld stuff, right? So they're going around and all that stuff. And then you knew it was coming, Fennec Shan, he says, I need muscle, right? And Fennec Shan's like, depends on, if I know where you can find some muscle, you just got to look in the right place. And then they play the little whistle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know that was terrible, but you hear it and you're like, come on, man. Like, the Mandalorian's coming, so you're hype. You're like, yes. Okay, the Mandalorian's coming, and you're hype about it. So that episode happens where it's like, it's a Mandalorian episode. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, I want to watch this more than the show that I'm supposed to be watching right now, because as soon as he came on the screen, like, I'm like, let's go. They played the little whistle thing again. And then I'm like, all right, well, let's get it, man. Then he pulled out that dark saber, started. I was like, okay. Okay, Boba Fett. I don't know what we're doing right here. I like it, but it ain't feeling real Book of Boba Fett. And this is episode like 5. So at this point, I'm like, yo, this episode is better than the whole. I don't even remember the Tusken Raiders at this point. I just want to follow this. And I'm like, and that's why I was posting on Twitter, like, so I said Boba Fett is kind of terrible, but the Mandalorian season 3 has started off great.
It sure has.
What were your thoughts when they kind of went off on a tangent and just gave the Mandalorian half of his season?
Yeah, and it goes back to your point, so I'm going to tie that in. When I first saw Din Djarin enter that room, I was like, okay, I expected this because they teased it in the last episode. So he's probably going to kick some ass, and then Fennec Shan's going to show up and say, hey, we need a favor, and then we're going to go back to Boba Fett. But my thing is, like, you're right, because it was all about the Tusken Raiders. Then they said, oh, let's get back to him as a gangster. And then right when that could have started hitting its stride, they do the first episode of season 3 of The Mandalorian. Right. Now, I was able to forgive it because that episode was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
It was incredible. I wouldn't have minded waiting to see that if it meant that we got to develop Boba Fett more, because I really think it did that character a disservice, because I've loved Boba Fett for a long time, like whether he's a villain or a good guy or anywhere in between. Like, he deserves a lot of development, especially since his story hasn't really been told like that. So yeah, it was awesome, so I could forgive it. We got to see Grogu again. They got to bring Baby Yoda back.
They had to.
Yep, and Luke Skywalker. That was all. Like, that episode was a great episode.
Okay, now real quickly, they fixed the Luke Skywalker scary face.
Yes, they did.
They did that so much better, because if you haven't seen the end of The Mandalorian, like, you saw Luke Skywalker and you're like, I think that's maybe the ghost of Luke Skywalker, but it didn't look like it. But whoever, I heard some guy posted on YouTube like, yo, I could have made a better Luke Skywalker, and they actually hired him because, he actually said that he could do a better job. And I think Disney actually hired him to come in and help, because he was like, watch this, I'm going to make myself Luke Skywalker. And he did it. And it was like, oh, okay. Wow. So he didn't even, So they actually brought the guy who did it on YouTube, I think, a better job than they did. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead about the.
And it was much better. I still would have rather them cast somebody as Luke Skywalker. I think that would have been fine. But the way it was done, it worked out. So I mean, I'm fine with it. And I loved how we're now seeing a different Luke Skywalker from what we're used to. We see the old jaded guy, and then we see the young, naive kid. Now we see him developing into who he's going to be, and he's unsure of himself. And the only thing I didn't like about that was Ahsoka. I love Ahsoka, and I love Rosario Dawson, but my thing is that they didn't really explain why she was there. Like, it's almost like they just put her in there because they needed somebody to tell Din Djarin that he can't go see Grogu. And then once he left, then she's like, okay, I'm out. I was like, wait, I thought you were going to help him, do the Jedi Academy and all that.
Yeah, I think they put that in there just so you could imagine the conversations that they would have between, you know, her being the Padawan of his father. You know what I mean? Like, so what was my dad like? So you could just kind of sort of imagine that type of maybe dialogue they were having, but it really was what it's almost like the fan service stuff. It's like at the end of Solo, it's Darth Maul standing up and opening his lightsaber when he's on a Skype call.
Yeah, for
No
no
reason
reason.
to
Yeah.
do that whatsoever, but it's for fan service. So when I saw Ahsoka Tano, I was like, oh, is she gonna be at the academy? What's she gonna do? Oh, she's not gonna do anything. Okay, she's just gonna tell Luke you can't see Grogu, and he gives her the little pouch, the gift or whatnot, and then that was the end of it. So I don't know. I'm just gonna say this: like, if I was Boba Fett and this was my show, and you told me halfway through my season you're gonna bring in some guy who everybody probably wants to see a little bit more, and it's basically gonna take over the show. I would have had to talk to my agent and been like, yo, I don't know if this is the right show for us, because because you gotta think about it. Nobody talks about episodes 1 through 4. They only talk about 5 through 7.
Yeah.
Nobody. So everything that happens basically when the show was all yours. And even on the Mandalorian episode, he didn't even say a word.
He
Phoenix
did.
Stan said a word. All they did was go to him, and he kind of nodded his head, and that's the only dialogue he got. So I don't know. I thought this was my major. I was happy, but I was very disappointed at the show when they brought, because it's almost like saying, it's almost like when they say like you can't hold your own, right? So somebody else has to come in and carry you. It's like you basically saying there doesn't need to be a Book of Boba Fett Part 2. I mean, there can be, but it's like you really got to start to develop what he was doing, because you've already shown that it would have been like in WandaVision, right? One reason why they said they didn't bring Doctor Strange in was because they knew it was going to be a multiverse of madness, and they didn't want to take away from Wanda. Yeah. And what I was sitting there saying, if Doctor Strange could come into your show and people want to see what Doctor Strange is doing more than Wanda, you know what? You probably shouldn't make that show. That's how I was looking at it, because after Boba Fett got there, I was like, all right, I'm kind of done with it now, because y'all had your opportunity to give me this criminal underworld stuff and you didn't do it. And I knew it from maybe the second episode when he said, he was like, the people need to fear you. Are you going to ride up, let the people carry you around? He was like, no, I want to rule with respect, not fear. And I was like, yep, I'm out. I checked out basically at that point. And
it's funny because she even points it out, like, you've gone soft. I mean,
yeah. And then not even like that, but it's like you got the woman pointing out that you're soft. It's like, and she's killing people. She's straight up killing people the whole time. And it's like she's pointing out to you that you're soft. The only thing I want to ask you is, like, what are your thoughts on? Do you feel like Disney did the right thing by kind of sort of starting the Mandalorian season 3 in the middle of Boba Fett? Do you think that was a good idea?
As much as I love the episode, I'd have to say no. I would rather wait and have them actually do the start of the season 3 and and give Boba Fett what he deserves. I mean, like, I'm sorry, like I needed more Boba Fett, and I don't know, like I'm torn, because I understand, like, oh yeah, I want to rule through respect, but you're in the criminal underworld. Batman understands this. He does his stuff through fear. So you do have to have a level of fear for the really bad people, and maybe for the people who aren't so bad, that's where you rule through respect. It's just, I feel like they just really changed him around too much. Like, I don't mind him becoming I don't mind him becoming a decent guy per se, but you don't just go from being so ruthless to being a Boy Scout. Like, he's a Boy Scout, and I don't like that. I hope they fix that somehow, because he did kill Cad Bane at the end. He did kill him, and he didn't have to. But still, like,
maybe we don't know that.
Oh yeah,
maybe. Well, my thing is like this, right? You don't mind him being ruthless with the other gangsters, right? It was cool, like, like here, right? You don't want him throwing his weight around here, like when he's going around kind of making his collections. We don't need you to be ruthless here, but you could have got as savage as you wanted to with some of these other factions. You understand what I'm saying? That was the part of it that I thought was missing a lot, because I was like, okay, what are we doing, right? So
I will give him credit for killing the people who he thought killed the Tusken Raiders when he went out in that ship and gunned them down. I'm like, yeah, that's Boba Fett.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like the episode 2 where Anakin goes and kills those guys that
Yeah.
kind of reminded me a little bit of that, but he completely went dark after that instead of kind of sort of bringing it back in. But so yeah, I want to fast forward to the epic finale, right? Okay, well let's just go ahead and talk about this real quick. When they were making when he got the new plane, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, so he's modifying this plane, and it looks like normally, right? I remember in one of the first trilogy or whatnot, right? I'm looking at it like, wait a minute, it's supposed to be a droid sitting back there. Now they have this little bubble thing on top, and I'm like, okay, I don't know why that's not. I mean, he doesn't like droids, so I don't really know what's going on right now. But we're gonna see how it is. Shout out to Cali Bev checking in over there on Facebook. Um, I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, so there's got to be something with this plane, right? Because it's not like his other one. It's not like a ship.
Right.
So let's just go ahead and get to the choice. Yeah. She asks, is this on YouTube? Yeah, it's on YouTube or Facebook. It's also on Twitter as well. So yeah, that answers your question. The choice between him being a Jedi or him being a I forgot what he calls. What's a young? I know a Padawan is a Jedi. What do you call him?
A foundling.
A foundling, right? So he was like, is he gonna be a foundling or is he gonna be a Jedi? Did the decision that he decided to do, did it shock you? Were you shocked that he decided to go back with the Mandalorian?
No, it didn't. For two reasons. One, I was talking about this on Twitter, and somebody pointed out that in the newest trilogy, that it said that Ben Solo was Luke's first student. That means that Grogu couldn't have been. So I was like, okay, so he's going to choose the armor. But the second reason is because I think when all is said and done, he's going to be both. He's going to have that lightsaber and the armor, just like I can't remember the name of the first guy, but Vizsla. He was a Mandalorian who was also a Force user. Darth Maul was also a Sith, and he ruled the Mandalorians. So that can happen, and I fully believe that's what's going to happen.
Well, I put it to you like this. I mean, I've talked about it because when we finally found out what it was, I was like, oh, his choices are a dress and a lightsaber. I was like, well, this is Hollywood, so he's definitely putting the dress on. I was so disappointed when he put that dress on. I was just like, what is that? Like, it looked like the Lord, like you called it, the Lord of the Rings mithril armor. I'm looking at this like, I don't think I like this. I don't think I like this. I was expecting I don't know what I was expecting, but when it was so small, I thought it was gonna be like the knob, the kind of like the little ball thing that came off. I thought that's what he was gonna make, but I was like, but that doesn't make any sense because he was talking about being a foundling. That kind of doesn't make any sense. But I knew, like I said, once I saw the ship, once I saw the choice. But I'm gonna tell you another reason, right? If he would have stayed a Jedi, that would have mean he died, right? Because if your girl Rey was the last Jedi, right? Then that means you would have had to kill off Grogu. Got killed by somebody. I don't know, who killed him, but Grogu. That means Grogu was dead in the Rise of Skywalker.
See, I think that even if he had chosen the lightsaber, I don't think it would have necessarily meant that he would be dead, because Rey was the last Jedi that they know of. It's just like with the first Purge, like back in the day, they just said, oh, all the Jedi were wiped out. But then it turns out, no, they weren't. Some were able to hide. And like Yoda and Obi-Wan were not the only ones who got away. That the ones who got away, they just didn't do anything anymore because there was no point. So I figured that type of thing could happen if Grogu decided to become a Jedi. But still, I mean, it was more like the fact of what they said in the last trilogy. And I said he's going to have a lightsaber at some point. Like, he's not going to just be a Mandalorian. They've got
to do it because they want to see it now. You know what I mean?
It's like, Yoda. I mean, basically, I mean, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, they just found a cuter version of Yoda that they can kind of sort of play around with a little bit. So I really, really think that's what they're going to do. Callie Bev is correct. She said, "Oh, J.J. Abrams don't know what the hell he's talking about." I'm just saying from that last scene, right? You remember that last scene when she said, "I am all the Jedi, I am all the Sith," when you had all the people talking, and it confirmed that Ahsoka Tano was dead, right? She got killed somehow because you heard her voice.
True.
Her
That's
voice
true.
was one of the voices as a, come on, I don't even remember. That's one of the Star Wars that I don't really like. But when they were kind of sort of going through like you heard
True.
Samuel L. Jackson, you heard the young Anakin Skywalker, you heard James Earl. Well, no, you didn't hear James Earl Jones, but you heard all the quote unquote Jedi that you knew, right? And then
Mhm.
you heard Ahsoka Tano, so that confirmed she was dead. So it would have been a
That is true.
situation where they were trying to, when she said, "I am all the Jedi," I was like, well, maybe they're trying to say every Jedi is dead. So I'm like, they can't kill off Grogu. So that's another reason why I thought he was. So
Mhm.
I just want to show some pictures real quick. So just in case you weren't watching, I don't know why this looks that fuzzy, but they fixed Luke Skywalker. So that was one plus that I liked. I don't know why this one is so fuzzy. We're gonna kind of get into that final episode a little bit. But I just want to know what was your idea? I know we kind of skipping around, but what were your thoughts on these people?
So I like the characters. The characters don't bother me. Those bikes, I mean, I'm sorry, that was just goofy. Like they I could run faster than those things. If you saw that chase scene that they did with the major domo, I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, this isn't like a real chase. Like I don't feel involved in this, you know? Like I'm like they're just going so slow that I'm like, okay. But
Yeah.
the characters themselves were okay.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was okay, but I just if you get a chance, you need to Google the Power Ranger memes that have been made from them
Oh, I
because they were
bet.
basically saying like, I mean, yeah, they had these bright, like it's another thing, right? Criminal underworld, you can't go around on bright red and blue speeder bikes. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's not
Yeah.
stealthy, it's not nothing or whatever. Once again, Callie Bev is on it. She says, are we not going to talk about how Yoda's lightsaber was destroyed by Palpatine in the comics? Well, if you want to talk about that lightsaber that fell off in the was it in the Death Star that just automatically kind of sort of got regenerated. So Star Wars has shown a consistency that is inconsistent of just saying, hey, look, we can just get a lightsaber from wherever when it's convenient to the plot.
Hey, the Force works in mysterious ways. When you have the Force,
Yeah.
you can get away with a lot.
Yeah, it's like what Palpatine said, right? You know, there are many power. I guess there are many powers. To what did he say? You probably know it better than I do. What did Palpatine say?
He says
The ways of the dark side, or
there are many ways.
oh, some type of abilities or something like that. The dark side of the Force has many abilities or something like that. It was something like that. So I guess maybe
okay, I got it.
Lightsabers.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities. Some consider
Exactly. So maybe exactly that some would deem unnatural. Exactly, right? So maybe the light side of the Force could do the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
not.
maybe. So let's just go through this, man. I just want to we're gonna get to the last episode real quick, but I just want to kind of talk about. I'm gonna give the show some props on things I liked. I love this Wookiee character.
Chrysanthemum.
Yeah, I really liked his character. I thought he was way like once again, it's like once he joined Boba Fett, he kind of seemed like he kind of got that point because he was getting beat up. I mean, he took out everybody in Boba Fett's palace by himself without a gun. You understand what I'm saying? But then it's like when he joined Boba Fett's crew, he was like, he wasn't as like hard as he was at first. What was your thought about you know his name?
Yeah, Chrysanthemum. I hadn't heard of the character until I saw the show. So I was listening to some podcasts about the show as well, and so they kind of fleshed out who he is. I thought he was pretty badass. I mean, and I'll give him a little bit of slack on this because when he was fighting those Trandoshans, he was way more outnumbered than he was in Jabba's palace. And later on when he was fighting, he got shot like 1 billion times and kept going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the idea of adding another Wookiee character. We're so used to Chewbacca, and that's it. And we may see other Wookiees, but we don't have other Wookiees on screen that actually play a significant role in the story. So I'm actually excited to see what they'll do with him if they continue to do anything with him.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, I had somebody was asking for the link real quick, but I really enjoyed that character as well. I thought it was good. I enjoyed somebody who was actually fought like they wanted to be there. He was kind of I enjoyed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only thing I didn't like, and I know you can go look at it in the last episode, right, where he was kind of hobbling away. I don't know what happened with the costume design, but like I know I'm nitpicking, but if you look at his foot, you can tell the person is stepping because like the foot kind of hangs off to the side when he's running, and you can see the person kind of stepping on the ground. So it's like, just imagine
I
like if
thought that the foot looked a little
his
bit
ankle
weird
was
in that.
dislocated, right? But the person is still running normally because their foot is not where the ankle was. So if you go back in that last scene where they're like, cover him, look at his foot, and I promise you, you'll die laughing.
Okay.
Because his little wookie foot is kind of hanging off to the side, but you can see a foot come straight on top of it, and it still try to run. I thought that was funny, but I really like this character. So that was another plus. This guy never can go wrong with Cad Bane.
Yep.
I like how they brought him in. I liked him from the Clone Wars, but you know, I really thought this was a good add to the show. What were your thoughts on Cad Bane?
I like that they brought him in. I honestly, and I'm still maybe right, but I didn't think that they were going to kill him off so soon, like with his first appearance in live action. But I mean, he may not be dead, but I thought he was very well done. I mean, he's still fast, like the fastest gun in the universe. I mean, and he's just evil, and I can appreciate that. Like, and I can appreciate a villain like that who is just evil and just doesn't give a crap. I hope we see more of him.
I agree. I really thought that they did a good job because, like I said, he's got that air about him. Like, you know, it was like, you know, even before he knew who he was, you understand what I'm saying? It was a situation where he knew, like the sheriff guy knew, like, all right, y'all need to get out of here because this dude, you know, like he had that air about him. Like, oh, okay, it's just one. They sent in one guy. Like, okay, he got to be doing something. So I really thought Cad Bane was done very well.
What about Cobb Vanth, though? What did you think of that whole thing when they had their little standoff?
I thought it was. I mean, well, number one, you could tell his friend, or not his friend, but the other guy. You could tell he was gonna die. I was just like, okay, Cad Bane, you went for the kill shot with the character who everybody was like, please shut up and get killed. The guy who told the Mandalorian, you can't park your ship right here. You know what I mean? Like, that guy got killed. It wasn't like, oh no, that guy. It was like, okay, thank you for shutting him up finally. And then he kind of shoots what's his name? The sheriff guy.
Cobb.
Yeah, he shot him in the shoulder, and I was just like, yeah, he's gonna be all right. So I thought it was, you know, brought back the whole Western feel. I was okay with it, but it's like I kind of knew how it was gonna go.
Yeah, they made it kind of obvious that he's not dead because you're not going to kill off that character that quickly. Not Cobb Vanth. Like, he needs to have some more stuff going on.
The other part that I like, but then they didn't do what I wanted them to do was the Rancor.
Yeah.
That was a part of Boba Fett that I thought was missing. He was supposed to feed somebody to the Rancor. They could have picked. I wanted him to feed like the mayor's assistant to the Rancor one time. Like, that would have kind of made me say, okay, he kind of sort of like, okay, you betrayed me. Let's kind of sort of move things a little forward. You understand what I'm saying? So I'd be like, okay, if he had fed somebody to the Rancor, that would have kind of been a classic throwback to the old Star Wars. Plus, okay, Boba Fett might not just be, you know, just so vanilla of a character at that point. Right. Did you like the kind of, you know, the Rancor part where he's like, you know, he imprints on the Rancor. The Rancor is kind of like a puppy. You know, did you kind of like that? I didn't, only because I thought they kind of made him a little bit too soft to me.
Made Boba Fett too soft, or the Rancor?
No, I thought I wanted the Rancor just to be a savage. I didn't want him to really be able to be controlled and just be wild and untamed and anybody. Like Boba Fett, if he slipped in the Rancor pit, he might get eaten. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want. Like, I just want a wild beast, like kind of sort of like you know, like in Clash of the Titans, right? When they bring out the little monster, right? You don't really want him to have any allegiance. He just comes out killing stuff. So your thoughts on the Rancor?
See, I actually liked him being able to train the Rancor. One, because it brought Danny Trejo into the situation.
Randomly. Yeah,
that was awesome. And two, because I'm like, it was kind of badass that he was riding the thing, right? Like, I thought that was badass. Like, and
I did, but the shooting, I was just like, okay, he's riding the Rancor, but he's just like pew, 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 pew. I was like, I need him to do something else, because it's like now it's almost like he's shooting from just a bigger target. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't like, if he was shooting and the Rancor was like slashing people, I'd have been cool. But it's like when that whole thing comes off, right? And that whole little action scene, he drops down the Rancor, you're like, okay, then they blow it, and he's like, pew, 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 pew. And I'm like, oh, so he's just shooting from a higher perspective. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, and I thought, I thought it was okay. And some people complained that they didn't show him, training with the Rancor and all that. I'm like, I don't really need all that. Like, I'm just going to assume that Danny Trejo trained him on how to ride the Rancor, and it's all good.
Yeah.
Even when it went crazy at the end, that provided an opportunity for us to be able to see what Grogu has learned and how he's grown in his ability to use the Force. So I thought the Rancor, including that, was a good idea. And it's funny because I had actually forgotten about the Rancor. So when Boba Fett told Din Djarin, I'll be back, I got some other reinforcement, I was like, are these going to be the Tusken Raiders or what? And then he comes back on that Rancor. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh yeah,
that's right. You were in the show. All right. Yeah. Another, I guess, kind of my favorite moment in the show was kind of this whole thing right here, the showdown with the Mandalorian and Boba Fett fighting side by side. I thought this was like probably the best scene in the whole show, because you finally got what you wanted. You know what I mean? You wanted to see Boba Fett fighting. You wanted to see the Mandalorian. You wanted to see something because you felt like that had been missing from the show. This was my favorite scene of the whole show, where they were kind of fighting back to back. The one thing somebody needs to explain to me is, if I have on Mandalorian armor and I get hit with I get hit with a blast, right? Does it hurt? Because if you notice, it'll be like tink, and the blast will fly off them, but they'll keep saying ow. And I'm like, does it hurt to get shot with armor on? Like, I thought that was kind of confusing me a little bit.
Yeah, I would imagine just because of the impact, even though it's not a fatal hit, like it's still going to jar your system. So that's kind of how I took it.
See, I take it as like, it's almost like for example, right? I look at it like if you're driving, right? And the rain hits your windshield. That's what I look at those lightsabers. I mean, those not lightsabers, but that's why I look at those blaster blasts doing, because I don't think, like, especially like the ones they were using. And that was the other problem too, right? The little bitty blasters, it kind of reminded me of that scene from Harlem Nights where the guy, where Arsenio Hall and they got the Tommy guns, and the one guy comes out there like pew. They were so small. Like I'm looking at one, and it literally looked like the little blaster thing was like this big. I'm like, can we get like some like look at what my man is carrying, right? Look at that. Now that's something, if you get hit by it, okay, yeah, I will understand him saying ow, because it looked like it's gonna do some damage. But the ones that, especially the ones they were carrying, like they look like pea shooters. I was like, I don't even know what this is, because even the stormtroopers, what they carried looked a little bit like it could do some more damage, but it was rifles, those little pistol looking things they had, that didn't do anything for me. What was your thought about the I guess the final fight scene? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it?
The final fight scene, I had no problem with it. I loved it. And finally seeing the Mandalorian and Boba Fett fighting together, and seeing Boba Fett actually be competent for a change, I loved it. Like he wasn't getting his ass kicked. Like he was putting in that work. So like that's what they should have been doing with him before. I get that he can't be invincible and get everything right. He's gonna get he's not always gonna have the upper hand. But in general, Boba Fett should be putting in that work. So I was at least glad that they did that there. I thought the whole fight was good, even with the mod kids. I thought their scenes were good. The scene where the people from Freetown came in, that was a good twist, because I actually didn't expect that to happen, because Cobb Vanth. But they came through, and they fought those big droids with the shields and all. I thought all of that was well done. I will say it was a little weird having Din Djarin and Grogu reunite in the middle of that fight.
Yeah, I mean, it was
like, hey, guess what I have?
Yeah, because that was the other part. It's like in the middle of the fight, it's like Grogu and he catches him, and I'm like, oh, that's cute, but this is, I mean, I really want to take some of this battle seriously, right? You know what I mean? Like that whole him catching him in slow motion thing. I'm just like, it's like, that's all I can say. It was cute. You know what I mean? I couldn't say anything else about him. It's like, oh, that was sweet. That was a nice moment, but I really can't do it. The other thing that I mean, like I said, I know Star Wars has a problem with this, but I need for different size guns to have different size impacts. You know what I mean? Because they came in with the little person carrier. They had what I would equate to like a 50 cal in real life, and it's still like pew pew pew, pew, and it's still doing the same thing. And I'm just like, okay, I need for you to make the blaster, like make the blaster thicker or something. Do something. But
Yeah.
like I said, Callie brought up a good point. She said maybe it's like a bulletproof vest. So I can dig
Right.
that. I can dig that. So let's go ahead and wrap up the book of Boba Fett. Let me see. Did I have any pictures that I want to talk about real quick? Yeah, I've talked about that. Then we're gonna get into once again the end credit scene before we go to Peacemaker. But just kind of sort of in closing, just kind of give like just after you finish the final episode, where are you? Do you want? Okay, I'll ask you. I'll make it simple for you. First question: do you want a Book of Boba Fett season 2?
Yeah, I do, because I want them to get it right. I mean, the first season wasn't the worst. Like it's worth watching. It's worth watching.
Mhm.
It's entertaining. I just didn't like a lot of how they did the character and the
Mhm.
storyline. And I feel like Boba Fett deserves. He's a character that has been around since the beginning of the whole franchise. He deserves more than what he's been given. So yeah, I want a second season, just at least for them to get it right. It's kind of like Rise of Skywalker. The
Mhm.
people who did that movie were in a bad position because the previous movie was so horrible. So I think
Correct.
they did the best they could with what they had, but they had to
Yeah.
use that movie to kind of make up for the trash that came out right before it. I think this
Right.
is maybe not to the same extent, but I think this is the same thing. I like Boba Fett needs to have a season that is just about him. I don't want to see anybody else unless they're just guesting, but I want to see him actually get involved and actually make a mark on the overall universe.
Yeah. Um. I mean, just because I need stuff to watch and I need content, I'm going to say yes. I do want a Book of Boba Fett, but um, based on what I've seen a lot of these shows do, I believe they're going to try to move Fennec Shan into that role of like I think she's going to kind of sort of become like a new boss, and they might end up being at odds at some point because she's actually the ruthless person, like Callie said. Bev said, Fennec Merc, all them dudes at the end was
Yeah,
badass.
yeah,
Yes, but she's showing that she has that that side of her that she's like a ruthless killer. Like to me, Fennec Shan has the Boba Fett backstory, but she lives by it. You understand what I'm saying?
right.
Because when the Mandalorian we're going to go find her, like, yeah, you're going to go find like a ruthless killer, so you got to be careful, you know. But it's
Yeah.
like Boba Fett now doesn't necessarily carry that weight. The only other thing I'll say about this show is they need to make the whole show focused on the Tatooine underworld and like really dive deep into that because I
Mhm.
don't need any Mandalorian cameos. I don't need a Jedi cameo. I don't, if you want to throw Darth Maul in there just because he's in that underworld syndicate type of thing too, that might be fine, but I don't need that. I'm like, if you're going to really like get Boba Fett out there so he can hold his own series on his own, I really want, like I said, I really want that Sopranos with like, in the
Yeah.
Star Wars universe. I want crime. I want him to be ruthless. I want him to feed somebody, you know what I mean, to his pet. You understand? Like
Yeah.
I want all of that. You know what I mean? I don't want him to try to make no trees. I want him once he gets betrayed, like, you know what I mean? Like he's just straight cutting heads off. You know
Yeah,
what I
like
mean?
you're
Like,
gonna get dealt with. Yeah.
yeah, like he's not taking it nice on people. Um, so that's what I'll have to say about it. Um, your boy Chad came up and he says, Jeff published our interview. so,
You just did it.
so I guess he wants that out and about. But what up, Chad, man? Appreciate you checking in. So I just want you to give me your final thoughts on on the Book of Boba Fett. We're gonna close that chapter because I will be doing these regularly again when the new Mandalorian season comes out. But because like I said, we're gonna go to Peacemaker next. It's not as deep. So we'll be able to kind of run through that a little quicker. But
Yeah.
your final thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, overall, I think it was decent, but they missed an opportunity. They really blew it. I mean, they missed an opportunity to really show us who this character is. And I hope that they do a second season and they fix that. Yeah, I don't care if he even goes off planet as long as he's dealt, because there's like a galactic crime syndicate. Like if you remember from Han's the Solo movie,
Yeah.
people were speculating that she was going to come back, Kira. So
Mhm.
there's a lot that they can do. Then they're going to be introducing Grand Admiral Thrawn. That probably won't have anything to do with Boba Fett, but still,
Yeah.
I want them to dig deeper into the galactic underbelly of what's going on. So, and I want Boba Fett to be part of that. I don't need him to be like, killing everybody, but I do need him to be tough. Like, I need
Yeah.
him to live up to his reputation, even if he does fall on the good side of things. Like, he needs to be, he's not a Jedi. He's not
Yeah.
on the light side. He goes
Yeah.
in between. He's like the
Yeah.
Punisher, like,
Yeah, the Punisher, he can be like Venom. He just bites the head off of criminals, but he still saves people. I mean,
yeah.
you can make him a little bit more savage than I thought, but yeah, that's what I want to see. Yeah, so that is going to wrap up our Boba Fett portion. So once again, I'm gonna go ahead and put the spoiler alert out there. So that's going how we saw the book of Boba Fett. Now we're going to get into Peacemaker. So once again, if you have not watched season of Peacemaker, you need to go back and watch it. It was pretty good. So I'll have y'all guys go check that off. I mean, check that out if you haven't. So I'm just gonna say it one more time before we start getting into it. We're really about to go into Peacemaker. So if you have not seen season 1 of Peacemaker, I believe they're having a season 2 as well. But if you haven't seen season 1 of Peacemaker, we're about to get into it. So we're gonna kind of go same format. First impressions of the show. First of all, did you see the Suicide Squad?
Yes. So when I saw the Peacemaker on HBO, I made a point to see the Suicide Squad so that I would understand what was going on. It got a lot of flack, but I actually liked the movie. I think I didn't go in expecting a whole, like, an Oscar-worthy performance. I just expected something entertaining.
Right.
So that introduces you to Peacemaker. I do have a gripe, and I know it's from the comics, but that helmet is the dumbest looking thing I've ever seen. Like, it is ridiculous. Like, come on, dude. But other than that, overall, great show. That opening sequence is the best. Like, usually I skip past that, but every time I watch the show, I would watch it just to see John Cena's goofy ass dancing and the rest of them. Like, John Cena, like, you don't imagine him as dancing, but I thought
right. No, I felt you, because like that was my whole thing, man. Like, like I promise you, like I had to go back and watch it like 3 or 4 times, because I was like, when it drops, you know what I mean? The music and everything is so perfect. Everybody's got these little serious faces on when they're doing it. And I'm watching it and I'm like, oh man, this is really cool. I like this. I really, really like all of that stuff that was going on, right? So yeah, I will agree. One of the best opening sequences, just period. You know what I mean? I give James Gunn a lot of credit, even though there's some other things I'm going to take some points back later on. We'll get to that in a little bit. But man, I was hooked by the first episode. I was not a big fan of the Suicide Squad. I wasn't, only because of I just felt like there was a lot different. I'm not gonna go into it. I did review the Suicide Squad, so if you haven't watched that, it's on the channel, so you can go check that out. Yeah. So when I came into Peacemaker, I number one want to see how he survived getting shot in the neck and having a building fall on him. And I thought it was kind of hilarious how they actually talked about, I got shot in the neck and I had a building fall on me, because I was literally sitting there thinking to myself, how did he survive that, right? So, yeah, I was hooked from the beginning, from episode 1 all up until like the middle of the last episode, and I'll get to that in a while.
The middle of the final episode, you mean?
Yeah, the final episode kind of lost me at times, but it wasn't bad, but we'll get to that in a second. So let's talk about these characters, right? So you have Peacemaker, right? I really, like I said, I really enjoy John Cena in this character role. My second favorite character is going to be Vigilante. I thought he was hilarious. He was like crazy, you know what I mean? But it was just funny how like his character was like just like a stone cold killer, but he's like, his voice, right? I know I'm not the one to talk about anybody's voice, but his voice is just like so like calm and sweet, and it's like, oh, don't worry about it, guy. I'll kill those guys. You know what I mean? Like,
he's just so nice with it.
He's so nice with his insanity. You know what I mean? Like everything that he did. So I thought they did Vigilante. The guy who played Vigilante, I really enjoyed that character. So coming into Peacemaker, I was like, since I didn't enjoy the Suicide Squad, I was like, yeah, this is what I needed in Suicide Squad. I needed this level of things happening. Even though a lot of it was kind of predictable, I still was like, I still could enjoy it. So let's get into what happens in this show, right? They're being attacked, or like, this is one of my issues with it, right? Since you've seen the Suicide Squad, if you saw the Suicide Squad and then you saw Peacemaker, it's basically the same plot, right? It's kind of sort
Yeah.
of like
Yeah, it
Starro,
is.
right? It's the same thing. I know they got
Mhm.
Project Butterfly and they had Project Starfish, but it's like people being controlled by some alien being, basically.
Mhm.
So it's basically the exact same plot as Suicide Squad, but instead of being a starfish that go in your face,
Butterflies.
it's you're being controlled by I think I got a picture of this little guy here. Well maybe oh yeah I do. Here we go. So you're being controlled by these things, right? And once you're controlled by these butterflies, these alien extraterrestrial people, you're dead. So I didn't, it's like it's not like well, I guess with most alien movies, if you ever get the alien taken out of you, it pretty much kills you in just about all of them anyway. So I guess that was
Right.
true to form. Um, so basically, it kind of starts off where he's kind of getting back. He kind of goes back to his home, talks to his dad. We'll get to his dad in a second. Um,
Yeah.
there's something. I'm sorry, Hollywood hasn't stopped this. I'm not trying to be biased here, but I'm tired of the quote unquote villains in some of these movies, or like they are. It's like they always make like these like white supremacist people, like they're always watching like an Alex Jones show, or they're always watching like Fox News or
Yeah.
something like that. I'm like, can we balance this out?
Deliberate.
And it was like you could kind of tell Peacemaker was on that side because he didn't believe in climate change and everybody tried to make him look
Right.
stupid for saying. It's like, okay, we can balance it out, but it's like him saying he didn't do those things in his character made him seem like an idiot because of the other things he said he believed, right? Like he believed like Aquaman have sex with fish, like the different things he would say
Yeah.
during the show, which is another thing that I really like was the fact that they included the DC universe in there and he kind of talked the
Yeah.
way that you would expect it. I enjoyed that aspect. So what were your what did you kind of like I guess maybe first two episodes? So they're trying to get him out of that building, you know what I mean, after he kills that lady with the sonic boom on his helmet. What were your the first two episodes in? How were you feeling about Peacemaker at that point?
Yeah, I was liking it. I was just trying to figure it out because I'm not familiar with that character like at all. I mean,
Okay.
I tend to know more about Marvel than I do about DC. So I didn't know anything about his backstory or where he's coming from or whatever. So to me, it was just like more getting to know the character. I thought John Cena played him excellently.
Yeah.
I thought the acting overall was pretty good, but
Yeah.
it just I felt like it was kind of setting things up, but I didn't really understand where Peacemaker was coming from. Like he's killing a bunch of people, but he says it's to make peace, and then he's in jail, and I'm like, but as things went on, then I kind of understood sort of more where he was coming from.
Yeah, and before we go to the next thing, because we both said that we really enjoyed this, yeah, that opening sequence is just great. Like look at the faces. Like look at John Cena with a stone cold face. I forget the woman who was playing Amanda Waller's daughter, but look at her face, no emotion at all. You know what I mean? Like that first sequence is so great to me. So I'm probably gonna bring this in every time we go to another little segment because it was so great. Because I never skipped the intro the whole time I watched it either. Because I was like, every time it's like I'll be watching the show. It's almost like I know we didn't talk about this in the book of Boba Fett, which is something I just got to bring up real quick. Then we'll come back to Peacemaker. The song, right? So if you listen to the song, it goes hut hut. Hut hut. So based on how they switched it up at the end, and they're like Boba Fett, I was like, so the whole time they were talking about Jabba the Hutt.
Maybe, or maybe the
in
twins.
The final episode, they now say Boba Fett. So when he was saying the Hut the other time, who was he talking about? He had to be talking about Jabba, right? Or the Hut family, or was that just a sound effect? Because
I think it's just more like a sound effect, like a hoom.
But see, if you listen to it, right, I said two things. Now, since they changed the Boba Fett at the end instead of the Hut, I think that's what it was doing. And I said the second thing is, for all my 30, 35 and up crowd, you know what I mean? If you play Super Tecmo Bowl, it sounds like the old Super Tecmo Bowl Hut. You know what I mean? But he said Hut, 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 Hut. That's all I kept thinking about every time I heard it. But I just wanted I knew I had forgot something before we switched over to Peacemaker, but I just had to throw that anthem out. So you need to listen to the anthem. I think he's saying Hut. You can say what you think about it, but yeah, she's what's they say, I didn't watch Peacemaker. I'm just here for the spoilers. Cool.
Hey.
But yeah, like I said, that Boba Fett and what's the name, but I'm gonna come back to Peacemaker. I knew I forgot something. I was like, I did not talk about the song, right? So let's get into it, man. So these butterflies are apparently trying to take over the world, and one part that I kind of enjoyed to a certain extent is I like the human side of him not being superpowered, like when he kind of had to leave the apartment, right? Normal superhero landing from 5 stories up, boom, no knee damage, no nothing, they're good. Him falling, saying ow, it's not graceful. It wasn't like anything, you know. I enjoyed that he was like, and that's one thing I'll give John credit a lot of credit for, is you really saw a different side, like an emotional, like he was really giving you more than just being a big stupid jock. He was giving you emotion. The part where, you know, he supposedly, you know, he was supposed to be responsible for killing his brother. You know, there's sometimes when he would just go in his room and cry. I was like, oh wow, he's really kind of going through it. So I really saw John Cena. He really kind of sort of went on a whole nother level in his like acting or whatnot. One thing that I don't know if you picked up on, but I didn't like how it's like some of the things they kept throwing things in there that you might not have caught, but I it's like now my ears cannot turn these things off. But there was no reason to talk about him having sex with dudes in jail. I don't even know if you picked up on that part, right? Because when he was at the bar, he said, yeah, you know, I haven't had sex in a long time. Well, with a woman, but you know, and I'm like, yeah, okay, so apparently he's in Bel Rev having sex with dudes. Like, I mean, it's like it was unnecessary, and I felt like that was one of those kind of in between kind of challenges masculinity type thing, because they kind of brought it back up at the end. You know what I mean? Going into that, and
lost you. Hello, everybody. I think we're having issues with StreamYard. This has happened to me before, too, when I do my live streams. So hopefully it'll be fixed soon. I don't even know if you guys can even hear me, but just in case you can.
All right, so I don't know what just happened. My mic somehow just cut everything out, but
you know, that's happened to me before when I've hosted. It happened when I interviewed Eliza Blue, and that happened to me.
Right, because it was like yeah, it was like your mic has lost internet connection, but I could still see you and I could still hear you. It was like, yeah, so welcome. I'm kind of here by myself right now. We're experiencing technical. I can see all of that going, so I'm like, why
that's what happened to me too.
But my signal's knocked out. But whatever. So yeah, it was a lot of those, and that's something that really kind of bothered me in the last episode. Like, I just kind of want to just watch a show without kind of sort of these like side signals being sent. Like, I wasn't really tripping too much about Amanda Waller's daughter being a lesbian. I was like, okay, that's fine. It didn't bother me because I'm like, okay, once again, it's not like the way their character was, like, it didn't bother me. I was like, okay, so Amanda Waller's daughter is a lesbian. All right, keeping it moving. And it's like you got to go on with the show. It wasn't like her sexuality was a part of the show.
Yeah, it was.
You know, there were certain times where she said some things, honestly, that made sense, right? Like, I remember, like, when somebody said, "Oh, so you're the girl in the relationship?" She was like, "We're both girls." I was like, "You're right."
They did that. Like, I was shocked that they would even have that in the show. I'm like, they're not going to get. I mean, hopefully, they don't get canceled for even having that in the show, even though they tamp it down and say, "No, that's not the way to think of it." I'm still shocked that they even let that character say that.
Right, but that was my whole thing. Like, when they started talking, like some of those like subliminal things they try to throw in there, think you're just going to walk away. This kind of sort of like, let's talk about his dad, right? The White Dragon. Okay, so once again, because he's the White Dragon, you know, they're talking about, like, I mean, they're talking about let me see, where's this picture at? So we got the White Dragon, this guy, right? And you get to see him in, I think, episode 6. Really, really cool outfit. Really, really cool. When they bring him in later.
Kind of badass. I mean,
yeah. I really kind of thought, like, you know, I get it, right? His dad was a white supremacist, so he kept trying to, like, and I felt like that's what he was battling. he was kind of, in my opinion, based on some of the things, he was trying to be like overly masculine, right? Because of his dad. So, and then being the fact that, they already had mentioned something with what happened in prison and kind of saw how he was acting. He was trying to talk about, how big he was and how, like all these different things, like all this sexual innuendo that he would talk about, right? Like, I'm the big man, I'm this, I'm that, right? I felt like, that was because, number one, his dad was a white, so he was fighting racism because of his dad, right? And then he was fighting this whole like insecurity about not being sufficient enough like his whole life. So he overcompensated, which I thought really humanized his character, which I thought was another good thing. However, I just didn't like a lot of the writing choices to humanize him. Like, I thought the stuff with his brother was good, but I just don't like when it's like, okay, why do we have to like throw all these other things in there? Like like I said, it's his father. Then they get like the people in the hoods, where they're basically like KKK members. Let's just be honest. Like, they just throw these hoods on, and that's a part of his little crew or whatnot. So I was just like, okay, so we're doing this again. It's like every single time, and I'll get to the part that kind of bothered me in episode 7. But the helmets. I don't know if you caught any of those, or what was your thought about some of those, like, I guess you call them those hidden messages, or like those like political intersectionality type things that they talk about. What did you think about that?
Yeah, it bugs me. I mean, it depends on how they do it. I don't mind it per se. I don't like feeling like you're preaching at me, though. I don't feel like feel like you're trying to shame me. So, I mean, there was some of that in there, not to the extent where I wouldn't watch the show. I think they knew what line to go to. And like I said, with the lesbian relationship, they were just there as lesbians, and that's it. They didn't preach at me about it. They just had the relationship. Okay, fine, keep it moving. She was actually one of my favorite characters.
Correct.
But at that last episode, when they're talking about,
wait, hold on.
I can wait on that.
I want to say,
what I'm going to say.
Episode 7, what did you see? Like I said, they just went ahead and threw him having sex with the guys. His dad is a white supremacist who watches a guy like Alex Jones. He's got the flag hanging upside down because he believes that we're at war. All those different types of things, and it's always on one side.
Yeah, the Alex Jones thing.
It's always like right wing stuff, or conservative air quote stuff, or the Republican side of politics when it comes to these type of things. It's normally never like they really go after like the liberal or the Democrat side when they're making these jokes. You don't see like for example, right? If they would have made the White Dragon like a liberal, right? He would have had like a Black Lives Matter flag outside. He would have had like a rainbow flag outside. He would have been trying to do all these different things, but it's like they only make fun of it when it's on one side to kind of sort of, and that's what I feel like Hollywood does at times.
That is annoying.
They reinforce these stereotypes of what somebody is, so that way, and it actually, you got to be honest, it changes your viewpoint if you're not paying attention. Oh, this is what these people believe. This is how these people, you know what I mean? Like, I honestly think that Hollywood has the power to shift that meter, especially when all you're seeing in these shows is everybody that's quote unquote is a right. Like the same thing happened in The Boys, right? You remember what's her name? Stormfront.
Yeah.
She was a right winger, but she was a Nazi. You see what I'm saying? It's the same. It's always one side.
Yeah, I mean, and in this instance, the father didn't bother me because I figured that's how it was in the comics. And actually, just looking up while you're talking. Yeah, actually, in the comics, his father was a former Nazi commandant, so that they changed it around a bit. Yeah, I didn't know that. But so if it's like that in the comics, and I don't mind them doing it in the show, but you were right about the Alex Jones stuff, and I'm not an Alex Jones. I don't watch that, but still, like, it's obvious what they're trying to say. If you watch Alex Jones, or if you watch Fox News, or if you're in line with some of these views, then you're just like this KKK guy or whatever. Yeah,
when the cop comes up to him, he's like, "Can I help you, Lo Mein?" It's just like, all right, okay, we get it. He's a racist. We got it. You know what I mean? He only laughed. And the one part that they kind of messed up, and somebody said that he was laughing when he told the story about Idris Elba. What's his name? Not Deadshot, but what's the guy's Idris Elba's character from the Suicide Squad? I forget his name.
Didn't he play Deadshot?
No, Deadshot was Will Smith. He had a different name. His name was like
Yeah, I can't remember.
I can't remember his name, but people said the only reason why his father was like when he was trying to tell jokes and all those things, the only why he was laughing is because the character was black, right?
Right.
But he doesn't know that. You got to remember during that dialogue they had at the table, he just said that his father just, like basically had him. He had this fear of rats. He never mentioned that he was black. So some people said that he was laughing out of racism. I was like, no, I think he was laughing because he's sadistic. He was only laughing because, like, oh, when the rats were attacking him. But once again, it's like they even pulled information out of a fictional dialogue to make him even more racist than he really, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to defend a white supremacist named White Dragon. But what I'm saying is, even on this internet comic book, people was like, yeah, he did that because of oh my God, Idris Elba's character in the Suicide Squad was black. I'm like, but he never said he was black.
Yeah, he didn't mention his race. Yeah, you're
So,
right, he didn't.
The plot. So, like I said, that's the reason why I said we can kind of breeze through this one, because the plot of it was pretty self-explanatory, right? It was the same, like I said, it was the Suicide Squad plot. Aliens infecting people, taking over their control of their bodies, and they had this quote-unquote plot. So, because that was basically the plot and trying to unearth it the whole time, we can basically get to the finale, because everything in between there is basically just leading up to what's going to happen. Let me see. Everybody has this like final act syndrome, right? Like your last episode, you got to pull out everything, right? So I'm not gonna lie, like I was digging when they went out to the field and the theme song starts playing. I was like, okay, I'm digging this, right? Yeah, I love the slow mo. I mean, and they're just going to town on all them. I'm like, okay. Now, side note, this is one thing that I want to tell you about, that like this is the other part that they don't kind of talk about, right? When they start talking about, like, not even to get real political, but I thought it was funny, right? Now, not to get too political, so y'all can just go ahead and take a deep breath, because I'm not going to talk about it long. People talk about things like the criminal justice system and mass incarceration and all these other things, right? The prisoners that got infected got lit up in that first scene when they were getting attacked. So if you think about who's writing these type of things, this kind of shows you, like, because you remember the black guy who was like sitting in the White Dragon's like area or whatnot. Like, I mean, like all these like criminals or whatnot, or people who were just in the jail, because if they're in a jail, they can't be too violent, air quote, right? Because they weren't in prison. They were just in jail, like a holding cell. So those people just got, I mean, literally just like destroyed, just because, they could have been a traffic ticket and then all of a sudden the butterflies take over. But I just also thought, like, how expendable those people and the cops were. So that's another thing, right? The whole, BLM and all that stuff, defund the police.
Right.
Like, they had no sympathy for the police officers whatsoever either. You know what I mean? So I thought that was interesting, that the police officers and the criminals were kind of sort of just treated like, okay, like random stormtroopers that could just be taken out with no remorse, because you didn't feel anything.
Like they weren't really human.
Yeah. When they got their head blown off, it was just like, all right, cool. That was that. Hey, he threw a knife at him. Oh, wow. Oh, he chopped his head off. Wow. I was just like, okay. But you never really thought about, like, this was a person that got his body invaded by a foreign thing that just kills you. And then now you're going to die because they took over your body, over your own control. So I thought that part of who was dying was very interesting. Criminals or people who were in jail, and the police, and they just got destroyed. What were your thoughts on like the final battle? And don't talk about the
all right. I'll wait.
The speeches last.
Yeah, the final battle was great. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was excellent. I loved it when Adebayo came out and she started shooting, because, like, when is she going to get into the action? Because if she's Amanda Waller's daughter, that she's trained. Like, she knows how to use that pistol. And when she came out, I was like, yeah, like, she's like my favorite character. I love her. And I love the actress that plays her, too, because she's been in other stuff. She's awesome. But I kind of want to go back to what you were talking about with the overall plot. It was very underwhelming to me. Like, okay, they're going to go and they're going to kill this cow. And then, it didn't feel like there was a lot of stakes to it. Even though they were trying to take over the entire world. I'm like, yeah, but they're always trying to take over the world. Like, what's going to be different about this? Like, it's just butterflies. The butterfly was intriguing. But then all they had to do was just kill this big slug looking thing. and then that's it. And it's just like, that doesn't make any sense. And especially, and they even bring it up in the show, like, wait, where's the Justice League in all of this? Why wouldn't Amanda Waller say, hey, Superman, why don't you send Aquaman down here to clean all this up? You didn't even need the Suicide Squad to do this.
Yeah.
You can just get like, I don't know, like just have the Flash come and have, a couple other people. But I mean, I guess that's where you're supposed to suspend disbelief. So I get it. But it's just their end goal was just kind of goofy. So it's just like in the Suicide Squad, I was fine with it, but just repeating that is just.
Yeah, and I was also going to say, and based on what happened in the prior episode, there was quote unquote no redeeming arc for the White Dragon, right?
That's true.
Like he killed his father, right? Yeah. However, if he could have talked him out and told him like, hey, look, these people are trying to take over America. You don't like illegal aliens. What about real aliens? And then now you add the White Dragon in the final scene. I guess you could say that now you kind of, because he had some cool stuff. And I would have really liked to see him use those cool weapons against people you don't care about, because he never really got to use it to his full capacity, really. You know what I mean? Because he's not going to hit Peacemaker with it, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then it also brought up something else too. Okay, his father has all this cool technology, and Peacemaker has a helmet, a goofy looking helmet. Why didn't he get all decked out? Why didn't he have his own suit? Like, I know he's not very bright, he's not a smart guy, but still, like, wouldn't you have thought?
Well, I guess that they kind of talked about that because his father said he didn't care about him, so that would kind of just say, I just made you some helmets because you're gonna do something. So I just made these, but I'm not gonna really give you any good tech. Is basically, they kind of talked about that briefly, but I do agree. Every other show has shown in the final episode you kind of need to have a big bad. There was no big bad, really.
Right. You know what I mean? Okay, that's what was missing. That's when I'm having the problem, because that big cow thing wasn't going to hurt anybody.
Yeah, it wasn't going to hurt anybody. So we needed a big bad, and Falcon and Winter Soldier, we had the little whoever she was lady who was kicking butt. In WandaVision you had the witch lady, and you had another Vision. In the Mandalorian season 1, you had the guy who had the dark saber at the first time.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying? Then you had him again in the second one. So it's like, when we set up these final episodes, you want somebody, and that's what I thought they should have did, because I ain't gonna lie, I like this little dude only because he kept eating chips and I thought he was hilarious. Yeah. But Judo Master was not a big bad. They needed somebody who was like on Peacemaker's level, that could have been that bad guy that represented the whole time. Like, let's say, for example, like I forgot his name, the Mern, right? You realize that some of the butterflies weren't all on the same page. So you could have maybe the King butterfly guy inhabit, like the same way they did when they were trying to find a replacement for Deadshot in the Suicide Squad. Go into all these thousands of characters, find somebody who is kind of in that mercenary realm that you won't mind if you got to kill him off at the end, right? And then have a butterfly infect him. So then that way we get that big bad who's now infected by the king of the butterfly. I thought that would have been a better look, because it was cool to watch. It was entertaining, but it's just like,
now you want that boss fight.
Yeah, you also need to tell me what this power level is, right? Because Peacemaker was getting thrown around the room by the woman with a butterfly. But then all of us, they were literally just, killing all of them with no problems now, when it seemed like one of them was a problem before.
Right.
But now they're killing all of them. And the other thing I'm watching is there wasn't all headshots either. You know what I mean? So technically I was waiting for some of the people in there, in the crew, right? I was waiting for anybody in the crew to get infected. That's what I thought. I'm looking at everybody here, and I know Mern was, but I thought one of them vigilantes, somebody was going to get infected by a butterfly. It almost happened, but it didn't happen. So yeah, I would say the end is underwhelming. Now, the part in the last episode that I was listening to that was just, like I said, very underwhelming, and kind of sort of threw me off a little bit, was the speech by the butterfly lady after she decided not to kill Peacemaker, because she could have killed him. And then she said, oh, you might join me after you hear what I had to say. And I'm like, oh my God, what is she about to say? Then she
Yeah, I
said it.
expected a twist there. I thought that something crazy was going to happen and be like,
Yeah,
oh,
I
maybe
was
she
like,
was
okay.
right.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, James Gunn is doing it. What is she
Yeah.
about to say? And I'll let you explain what she said, but it was just like, cue the Price is Right, let some air out of the tire. I was just like, we're going to do this. We're really about to do this, Peacemaker. You're about to preach to me with butterfly body stealing aliens and a cow that makes some sort of nasty honey thing in the background. You're about to
Oh.
preach to me about what you're trying to do. Go ahead and explain what the lady said.
Yeah, so she's like, okay, wait, hold on. I'm going to let you live. And, you're going to agree with me when I tell you what I have to say. And I'm thinking, oh, huge revelation. Something crazy is about to happen.
Deep.
And then she lectures him about climate change and about COVID mandates, vaccine mandates, mask mandates, saying that, and the line that pissed me off was your people are just too afraid to sacrifice some small freedoms to save the rest of the planet. I'm like, no, obviously the aliens aren't following the science on this, and I'm not going to get into this because we're not doing politics.
Yeah, I got you.
It's like, come on, I don't want to be preached at. Like, to me, like all the other stuff I could have let go, but to lecture me about climate change, I don't want to hear about climate change. I'm here to watch John Cena kick some ass. That's what I'm here for. Correct. I don't care what you think about COVID mandates. I don't care. You're wrong, but I don't care. You can be wrong. I just don't want to.
And I don't want to hear from a alien that's infected, that just killed a human being, that tells me they care about life. Like, that was the part I feel you, like when they said for a minor inconvenience, I was like, and then they also talked about like they mentioned something, I forgot what the words were, that basically was talking about Trump. You know what I mean? Like, I forgot what she said, but you knew she was talking about Trump. And then it was something that the character Adebayo said earlier in the episode too, where she said like neo-fascist libertarianism or something like that. And I'm like, those things don't even go together. It's like y'all are just writing stuff that are so far apart, because if you know a libertarian and you know a fascist, like, even if you go to Google it, they're on complete ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
One wants absolute, almost no control whatsoever, and the other one wants complete. I'm like, see, this is the part right here that just bothers me, because it's like, once again, I will say South Park probably does it better than anybody else. But if you're gonna play both sides, you gotta throw some other stuff out there that balances it out, so I don't feel preached to. You understand what I'm saying? If I start to feel like you're preaching to me in this comic book thing, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be turned off.
And it's like one-sided. Like, It's like what I can appreciate about Jon Stewart and Bill Maher, they are very clearly on the left, but they'll make fun of the left too. They don't just make fun of you and I; they make fun of the other guys too, and it's hilarious. I can laugh when they make fun of the other guys.
Like the like I said, the South Park episode where like I think Hillary Clinton was a turd. What was it? Turd sandwich and oh man, and a giant douche. No, it's funny. So the guy playing Trump was giant douche, and Hillary Clinton's character was a turd sandwich. So they were like, so this is what we had to pick from, a turd sandwich or a giant douche. They both sound terrible. You know what I mean? So it's not like they just, I mean, it levels out, because it's like you can laugh because you know they're not picking a side, or they're not trying to lecture you. You know what I mean? Like they've done, they do it better than anybody else, period. But that part right there, I mean, I was literally watching it, and I almost wanted to just turn it off. I was like, come on, don't wait to the last episode to do this, because I let all the other stuff slide, because the show was so extremely entertaining and it was done very well. I was like, don't ruin it with this lecture about, like you said, climate change and COVID mandates. And
you know who did well?
And
did you watch I don't want to get too much into, but did you watch the latest season of Cobra Kai?
I did.
Did you like the way they handled the woke stuff there? Because they kind of like poked fun at both sides of that.
Honestly, I mean, Cobra Kai, they did, but once again, I'm just to the point now where I'm just like, can I just watch? I don't want to be lectured to. You know what I mean? I just started watching another show on Netflix. I'll go ahead and give them a shout. Raising Dion. Did you see that?
No.
Raising Dion is about it's got Michael B. Jordan in it, and it's got this really, really good kid actor in it. it takes place in Atlanta, so I was automatically kind of digging it till they really started to throw a whole bunch of foolishness at me from a political and the stuff we're talking about now. But it's basically about this little boy who basically finds out he has superpowers. And it's about his single mother trying to raise him in Atlanta, and some things happen to him in school. How does he deal with bullies? He's not popular. All these different types of things. He kind of gets control of his power. It's a really good show. I would recommend you watching if you haven't. So Raising Dion, but that wokeness is there, and it's annoying. It's extremely annoying. Like, you know, the only thing, and that was the one thing about I was going to talk about Peacemaker, and this is kind of sort of going to wrap it up. Marvel. And I don't know if you're watching, but Marvel, DC, Star Wars, any comic book entity, anybody who wants to make something in the fantasy realm, it's okay to have a character that is male, that is competent. It is okay to have a male character that is strong. It is okay to have a female character that is competent. It is okay to have a female character that is strong. What you have to stop doing is saying because the character is female, that makes her better. Okay,
right?
Like if she's literally better, we'll notice it. That's the reason why, even though not Poison Ivy, but the Black Widow movie was extremely disappointing, nobody minded her fighting along the adventures because she held it down. She did her thing, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like she was better because she was a woman. Same thing, like I think Hawkeye did a very good job of, right? Her character was not just overly powered. She wasn't better than Hawkeye just because she was a woman. You understand what I'm saying? You know how to do it well at times. I don't understand it. Going back to my classic character who I always say, Gina Davis's character in the Long Kiss Goodnight, and what's my girl from Terminator, the first
Sarah one? Connor.
Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
Perfect way to make a strong female character. Nobody complains. Nobody says anything because that's who she is. You could tell she was a mother trying to protect her son, but guess what? She's going to do whatever she can to protect her, whatever weapon she's got to do. We're cool with it. I just get tired of like you making it about like, and they kind of did this at Peacemaker towards the end, but it's like because you got to think about it, right? Towards the end, they killed off all the cops except for the Asian one, right? Who was a woman. Mm-hmm. When the Mern got killed, They were like, oh, we need somebody to lead us. The name of the show is Peacemaker. I was like, oh, he's going to be the leader now. Then it was like, no, it's going to be hardcore. I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm not tripping. Maybe she has more experience dealing with stuff. I'm not even tripping. Then it's like I continue to watch it. And it's like, you know, then in my mind, I see that Adebayo scene where you're like, yeah, that's cool. But I'm like, all right, now y'all are doing too much, right? Even when hardcore, I thought was dead.
Yeah.
She's dead. I'm sorry, she's dead. She's not surviving that. She took about 4 or 5 bullets. What's his name? Vigilante only took 1 shot.
Yeah.
She took like 4, and she still made it out of there. I was like, come on now. Same thing with Adebayo, right? She put the helmet on. She did a little like rush thing, right?
See, that didn't make sense. That should have snapped her neck.
No damage whatsoever because he did it again for him to kill the cow. And I'm like, he said, if you did it, and look at how big John Cena is. I mean, look at this dude, man. He said, hey, look, you might want to be careful with that one because it might snap your neck. And no disrespect to the lady playing Adebayo, but this dude is jacked, and he's like, it'll snap your neck. But she had the power to do it twice when she's never even like, I was like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing? So I think we got to watch when we're doing these things, man, because you know, it's the Star Wars did it with Rey, you know what I mean? And everybody complained about Rey just being overpowered for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, so you've got to, just like I said, man, I don't have no problem with no femme fatales. You understand what I'm saying? If she's bad and she can kick butt, that's great because it's something better to look at. I would rather watch a woman kick butt than a man kick butt any day. You understand what I'm saying? When I watch Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Michelle Yeoh is another example of any movie she's in. Michelle Yeoh she does a thing. Any movie Michelle Yeoh is in, she kicks butt and nobody complains. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So we've got to stop doing this because a woman does it, it's better. You understand what I'm saying? Let's just let it play out
a good character. Just create a good character. And it's like they say in like in fiction writing, show, don't tell. don't tell me that the character is awesome, and don't tell me that she's awesome because she's a female. No, show me why she's awesome. Like Sarah Connor, she was awesome because she went at the Terminator, the T-1000, who was in the show, and she survived.
Right, but it's like I said, it was. I told you about that show I watched called Raising Dion. It's like the same thing again. It's like, oh, we've got this specialized group of scientists coming in, and they're the best scientists anywhere in the world, right? And then 6 women walk in, and I'm just like, okay, I mean, maybe all 6 scientists in the world are women. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying when you push it out there like that, it gets annoying because Sarah Connor never even said anything about being a woman. You understand what I'm saying? She just did her thing. You understand? When Gina Davis was trying to get her memory back in Long Kiss Goodnight, and she comes out and starts murking everybody, I was like, yes. Never once did I said, oh, she's a better assassin because it's like, you don't even need to say these things, right? You know, it's just like, it's getting to a point, man, where it's getting ridiculous. So we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness coming up. We got the Batman coming out pretty recently. Do not make Catwoman over the top. Do not make Wanda, even though Wanda is overpowered, so you can. But they're bringing in a new character called America Chavez. Let's not make her overpowered here. Let's keep everything where we need to keep it, because I really want to continue to enjoy these things. So I just want you to in the whole comic Marvel DC universe, I want to ask what you're most excited about that's coming up.
Ooh, the whole thing. Wow, that's hard. I mean,
because like I'll just give you some examples, right? Because you got Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I'm very excited about it. That's my favorite Star Wars character, so I'm very much looking forward to Kenobi.
So you've got Obi-Wan Kenobi, you've got the Batman. You've got Morbius that's somewhere on the horizon when they finally decide to drop it. I hope they don't do a New Mutants with it and they just kind of just throw it out there and it doesn't do anything, because New Mutants was supposed to come out like 3 years ago and they kept postponing it. But anyway, you got Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We got a new season of The Boys somewhere on the horizon. And just throw this another one out there for you. And we got the House of the Dragon. What are you looking forward to?
And also,
well, you watch Game of Thrones, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So then you got House of the Dragon on the horizon as well. So out of those, and maybe another season of Invincible as well. I'm gonna throw that out there too.
Yeah. And they're doing a Lord of the Rings too. I've been hearing bad stuff about it, but I don't know.
Series, yeah.
But you also can't forget, we also got Blade.
Yeah, we got Blade on the horizon. That is correct. Wait, is that this year?
I just looked it up. It looks like they're trying to do it in 2022. Yeah, 2022. Yeah. I don't know what the date is though. Yeah, but with Mahershala Ali, man, out of all of that, that's hard. I would say
that's a hard choice.
I mean, Kenobi's going to be up there. It's got to be. I mean, it's and with Ewan McGregor coming back to play him, that's going to be epic. I don't see how they screw that up. Yeah.
If they get what's your boy Ryan, the dude from the second Star Wars, if they get him to direct it, it'll be terrible.
Yeah, it'll be horrible. Yeah. But
Ryan Johnson.
That dude. I better never meet him in person because we will be throwing hands. But
he's terrible,
just kidding. I'm not threatening violence. I'll say so. Kenobi, I gotta go with the Batman. Okay. You know what? And I'm gonna throw Blade in there. Those three. I really am looking forward to them bringing Blade back, because Wesley Snipes was excellent. Yeah. But I think Mahershala Ali, he's a great actor. So I'm very much and Mahershala Ali, I think he's played a vampire before. So I'm very excited about that. And the Batman, I mean, at first when they said Robert Pattinson, I was like,
Sparkle Vampire is Batman.
Yeah, but when I saw the preview, it's kind of the same thing with Ben Affleck. At first I was like, we'll see. And then I like Ben Affleck's performance. So I think Robert Pattinson will do a good job. I'm very intrigued by how they're going to do the Riddler. Like, I've always wanted them to do a more grittier version of the Riddler for years. And I'm finally going to get it. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, even though I didn't dislike the Jim Carrey version, I just thought he was too comic-y, if that's even a word. I don't care if it's not. Like, I like the Riddler, like if you know about the Hush series, right? Like, I like that dark, you know what I mean? Like, the Riddler is leaving clues and people are dying because you can't figure it out. Like, that's the one I like a lot better. She said, question, did you watch the Eternals?
I was going to, but I didn't hear anything good about it, so I was like, maybe I'll just pass on that.
Okay,
Is it
because
worth
now somebody
watching?
was saying at the end of the Eternals, there's a post credit scene where apparently Walt Whitman or Jon Snow was in the movie for a little bit for no reason whatsoever. I don't even know why he was. I mean, he was in the movie because he's gonna have his own thing. But he was saying at the end somebody comes in and says something, and he's an off-screen voice and you don't see him. So she was saying, "Do you think that was Blade?" I agree. I think it is Blade. It sounds like him. I can't think of anybody else who it is. My top three that I'm excited about probably go reverse. I'm really looking forward to the Doctor Strange movie. Then I would probably go. I don't know if I go Kenobi, and I would say the Batman because the Batman's coming out quicker. And
Yeah.
then I would say I'm waiting on season 3 of The Boys. I'm looking forward to Kenobi, but I feel like it's almost like you can't go wrong. I'm really, really waiting on like a lot of stuff to come out, so it's not really a big deal. The last question that I have is
Okay.
what? And I want you to make this is going to be a bold prediction. It's like us making picks before the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Based on, I don't know how familiar you are with, I'll keep it with Marvel and Star Wars because I think it's what you're most familiar with. Based on that menu that they have coming out, what do you think is going to be the biggest disappointment?
Ooh. Okay. So there's Blade, Morbius, Kenobi.
But remember, you've also got like Miss Marvel coming. You've got She-Hulk coming. You've got what's the dude? Moon Knight.
Moon Knight. I'm looking forward to Moon Knight. She-Hulk, is she getting her own show?
Yeah, she's gonna have a Disney Plus series. So is Miss Marvel. And then you got Black Panther 2.
Ooh, yeah, especially since they're talking about not recasting T'Challa. I'm gonna go. I can't pick one. I'm gonna go with Marvel and Black Panther because they're not gonna recast T'Challa and that's horrible.
Yeah. Well, Bev says Moon Knight. I don't know. I think Moon Knight is probably gonna be towards the bottom. I don't know. It might be okay. I'm not. I don't know. I'm gonna agree with you. I think it's gonna be Black Panther 2 because I've kind of looked into some things that they're doing, and since they're not, it's kind of going down that same theme again, right? It's Black Panther, but there's going to be no male characters basically that have any level of importance on it. So it's like you didn't recast T'Challa. You're not going to make I call him Man Ape, but I guess that's racist now. So Man Ape is not going to become the Black Panther either. So the whole story, from what I've seen, they're bringing in somebody that can basically start the Young Avengers. And that's going to be the she's like a black woman that's Iron Man. I forget what her name is in the comics. You can go ahead and beat me up because not knowing, but it's going to be about, for some reason, Wakanda's interested in this woman who is supposedly going to be like a black woman version of Iron Man. So Black Panther is not going to probably even have a Black Panther character in it. So it looks like they're not going in the direction that I thought, and it might be because Chadwick Boseman died. But I was really looking forward to Wakanda versus Atlantis, bringing the Submariner, two advanced civilizations that have stayed hidden from modern society for a long time, having a big war. I was looking forward to that, but apparently they're not going in that direction. Ironheart, that's right. So yeah, they're kind of looking for Ironheart from what I've seen so far. That's going to kind of be the plot. Don't know what that has to do with Wakanda or Black Panther, but I think that's going to be the most disappointing that they have coming up, only because it's not going to really have any. It's almost like the book of Boba Fett, right? Or Loki. Even though I like Loki, right? But Loki was about the female Loki after this epic episode. You know what I mean? Like Boba Fett was about the Mandalorian after episode 5. So I just feel like Black Panther is going to be about Ironheart. Maybe after they do a little tribute to Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa for about the first 15 minutes, then it's going to be just change it to Iron. The Black Panther, the search for Ironheart or something like that. I'll be fine with that. But it's like, it's not going to be Black Panther after that. So I agree.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. Like
I would even get if they were trying to. Well, they said they're not going to recast him, searching for somebody to replace him, and I don't know. You know what? See if Michael B. Jordan is still available. Maybe he didn't die at the end. You just put him in cryostasis, and then you have Killmonger be Black Panther for a little bit. I wouldn't even
accept. I mean, I think that'd be goofy, but I would still accept that. But I'd rather them just keep T'Challa alive. Like he had one movie.
I'm gonna show you how they could have done it, and we've already seen it happen. they could have quote unquote reprogrammed him like they did Bucky when they got the Winter Soldier out of him. So maybe he might not have technically been. They could this comic book. So he's not as like psychopathic and crazy as he was before. So he kind of got rid of that. Now he's just Michael B. Jordan as Black Panther, or I believe in the comics he was called Golden Jaguar or something like that. So they could use the Golden Jaguar. So that would be my thing. Good brother, we are now at the 1 hour and 45-minute mark, and I appreciate you spending your afternoon with me, man. If you got something to plug, you can go ahead and do that, and I'm gonna go ahead and shut things down because I got about another 2.5, 3 hours to hit this road. But let the people know what you got going on, man. And like I said, I'm gonna have you back on because if something comes out again, we gonna have to talk. Maybe I don't know if we'll talk after the Batman, but we'll figure out something.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up, but yeah, you can check me out over at my YouTube channel and also my audio podcast, A Fresh Perspective with Jeff Charles. You can read my work at redstate.com and libertynation.com, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jeff on the Right.
All right, that is cool, man. I appreciate everybody who has tuned in today. Like I said, you can follow me at 50 Shades of Saul G on Twitter. You can follow the entire Libre TV network. Our YouTube channel is Libre TV. So if you haven't subscribed yet, we got a lot of different content. Got a new podcast I'm working on that's going to be a dating show, which is going to be great. That's going to be coming out about a month from now. Ooh. And yeah, man, like I said, we just got some good stuff on the horizon, meeting some new people, man. It's going to be a really, really good year. Like I said, if you weren't here for the beginning of the show, I got a little Kang on the way. I got a little baby Yoda of my own on the way. So, that's going to be an interesting situation as well. I want everybody to stay safe, stay blessed. And until next time, man, I've been the Kang of Comics, and we'll see you next time.